What's up, you guys? This is Adam Gillespie with Rancid and Sweaty Calves coming at you with yet another video. And this one is recorded on my laptop instead of my phone. It's a nice change of pace, I know, but I actually have time now. So that being said, we're going to go ahead and get started with this video. For those of you who don't know, there was a new Disney animated not TV show, a new Disney animated movie called Wish that was released not too long ago. The basic premise of it was that there's a king out there in this nation somewhere that is granting wishes, but only wishes that serve a better purpose, only wishes that serve to further his kingdom and actually have a meaningful reason behind the granting of said wish to the individual who is wishing for that specific thing. The main character of the movie, the princess, the main focus, the character that the movie drives through, the plot and the story flow through, thinks that everybody's wishes should just come true because that's all that you should ever have to worry about is making sure that your wish is always going to be coming true, making sure that nothing ever gets in the way of you having your desires satiated. That being said, there's a clear distinction between the two characters and their moral compasses. The king, even though he may be doing what he's doing for a selfish purpose, is actually bettering the kingdom as a whole because you never know when someone might wish for another person to be dead. You never know when someone might wish that he be the richest person in the world and no one else have any money, and you might not know when someone might wish to be a tyrannical ruler. And all these different wishes that are totally and just completely evil could come true if this female main character gets her way and has everybody's wishes come true and has everybody's wishes just all be equally as valuable as everybody else's. And is it any wonder why this movie has made nothing at the box office? But before I show you the box office, what I wanted to tell you was the actual estimated budget. And this is not the budget pertaining towards marketing costs. This is the production budget. The low end estimation is $175 to $200 million, which is a low end estimation again because you never know when there might be need for reanimation. Reanimation meaning that they might have to reanimate a scene, they might have to pull people back in, they might have to pull actors back in to re-record lines. You never know when that sort of thing is going to happen. So this is a low end estimated budget of what this movie cost just to make. That's not including the marketing costs. So you can take that 175 to $200 million production cost for the initial making of the film and then add about 1.5 times that onto the actual budget of the full movie. So if we do that, we do 200 million, right? 200 million times 1.5, that's an extra $300 million. This is going to cost, at a low-end estimation with the marketing budget and production budget, $300 million to get in the theaters. And again, that's a low-end estimate. Now, if we take a look at the actual box office record that you can see here in the Wish 2023 financials, the domestic box office has only grossed $43,691,937, and the international box office has only grossed $39,600,000, with a total worldwide box office of $83,291,937, which is abysmal, especially when you consider the fact that the box office is not the actual amount of money that comes back into the hands of the production house. It's not the actual amount that people will receive on the production end of things. This is probably going to be about half of what the worldwide box office has made. And even then, it's probably going to be more like 45, 42% because overseas, in China specifically, or in other individual areas outside of the US, there's only about a 40% return on investment when it comes to ticket sales in theaters. In the US, it's about 50% of the ticket goes back to the production house, goes back to the company producing and pushing the movie out, whereas overseas it can be as low as 40%, or maybe as high as 40%, depending on where you're going. And This is absolutely abysmal when you take that into account. If you have $83,291,937 as the worldwide box office, and that's all it's made as far as this is concerned, $83,291,937, and we do that times 0.45 to get a general estimation as to where it would possibly be in terms of how much money they're making back. They're probably only making back about $37,481,371.65. And again, this is all a generous estimate of about 45% return on investment between the US and the 40% that you would get from outside the US in the box office. It's absolutely abysmal. And you can see it's not doing very well weekend to weekend, right? Day to day. November 23rd, there was a 53% drop off from November 22nd. There was a 113% pickup on November 24th, which might be nice if you don't consider the fact that it's only $8 million, and that's a pretty pathetic amount of money when it comes to something this high budget, and it's only playing in 3,900 theaters and only making $2,076 per theater, which is absolutely abysmal when it comes to the overall product, the overall production budget of this film. It has had an incredible drop off. Now, I will say this, November 17th to November 24th, there was a 90% uptick, and that's because you can see on the numbers between $11,911,112 versus $22,632,830, there was an uptick by about $2,000 or $3,000 per theater. Per theater, right? But again, that's only in its best weekend so far, November 24th. Its best one, November 24th. It's only grossed $5,803 per theater, which is absolutely abysmal. It's absolutely abysmal. And again, this really doesn't take into account the box offices overseas, so we don't know how much it's dropped off overseas, but what we can see is the box office here in the United States, in terms of domestically. So this has had an absolutely abysmal run, and even if it did make it to $300 million, they still would be losing money because they only get about 45% of that back, which means they'd be making less than $150 million back on something that cost them, on a low-end estimate, $300 million. This is Disney's doing. They have done nothing but put out bad movies for the last few years. And even if you remove all the political grandstanding that they have used to push their movies out there, to say it's the first this or the first that, and if you don't like it, you're an ist or a phobe, even if you take all of that out, just the storytelling alone has been absolutely abysmal. Shang-Chi and The Legend of the Ten Rings lost money not because it was a woke movie, but because it was an absolutely poorly written story. Black Widow was a horribly written story. Thor: Love and Thunder was a horribly written story. Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness was a horribly written story. The only movie that has managed to make Disney any sort of money was Spider-Man: No Way Home, and it only got about 25% of the revenue from that. Their last 15 films that they've put out have been absolute flops, and all of their TV shows on Disney Plus have been falling short of everything that they've promised to live up to as well. Everything that Disney has done has had nothing but abysmal storytelling the entire way through, and it's only gotten worse for them as they've continued to push these horribly written stories and has continued to push all of these stories that nobody wants to see. Nobody wants to see a Rey Skywalker story because Rey Skywalker isn't even a real character. Skywalker is the name of Anakin and Luke and Shmi. Rey is a Palpatine. No one wants to see a Rey Palpatine movie because Rey Palpatine was just a Mary Sue who was able to do everything that she needed to do. The last three Star Wars movies were abysmal in terms of the actual storytelling, and if you take a look at the way that it started out, this trilogy started out, it actually wound up cutting its audience in half by the end of its trilogy run. And it's only gotten worse from there. The Mandalorian has fallen short. But the Book of Boba Fett has fallen short. Ahsoka Tano fell short. Everything that they have been putting out, everything that they have been making, has been focused primarily on filling a diversity, equity, and inclusion quota instead of focusing on telling a good story that everyone will love, cherish, and adore, like George Lucas did when he made Star Wars, like Disney used to do with Tarzan, and all these other incredible Disney products like The Lion King. Even Cinderella back in the day was a decently written movie, even though it was mainly for girls and mainly for children. Because you know what's the difference between people back then and people today is they realized that you don't have to make an idiotic story for children to watch. You can make a good story with well-rounded characters and a well-rounded story for children because it also can entertain adults if you have a good enough story. It can be something that is impactful and has been impactful for generations. But now Disney just seems to have lost all of that. And we all know why. I'm not going to say the reason why, but we all know why. We all know the reason why Disney has lost its ability to make good content. We all know why Disney has lost its ability to make good stories. And it's only getting worse for them. And if they wanted to change this, they could. But they really don't want to. They want to continue pushing a message instead of pushing good stories. Anyways, that's going to do it for this video. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Share this video out there with your friends. Subscribe if you haven't already. And make sure to check me out on my different socials. I hope you guys have a great day and a great rest of the week.